Welcome! So today we're going to make a bride, and I'm just going to introduce to you quickly what we're going to use to make it. So I've got my gum paste recipe, which is 1 kilogram of fondant, 3 teaspoons of CMC, 1 teaspoon of egg whites, and 1 teaspoon of vegetable fat, which is wholesome. You might also know it as a petal base, sold in different baking shops. And from there on, we're going to need a 18 gauge wire to work with, and you're going to need your rolling pin, you're going to need your self-healing non-skid mat, and we're going to have a blade, and we're going to have a Dresden tool. So it's got this flat pointy edge on the side. And then just for measuring purposes, I'm going to give you the measurements, and we need a polystyrene. So I think that's everything. You can also have with you a pair of tongs. So this you can get at a local craft shop or hardware store. So very little tools actually that I use to make these figurines, so you can get away with quite a lot. So we've got the white gum paste, I've got black gum paste, and to mix the flesh color I'm going to actually use terracotta and ivory. So it's just different amounts of those. I usually like to balance out the terracotta with the ivory because the terracotta's got the more pinky side and the ivory's got the more yellow side. Of course it's up to you who you're making, which bride and groom you're making. Sometimes you want to add in a little bit of chocolate or even a little bit of black, like in a small amount if you're doing an elderly couple. That's about it. Yeah, so we're going to get started. Okay, so here I've got my flourist wire and my polystyrene, and I'm going to insert it in the middle, and I'm going to go up and down. You got to loosen it so that when somebody wants to take it out afterwards, they can without struggling too much. It's not going to stick in the polystyrene. And it's a bit high for now, so I'm going to clip it a bit shorter to work with. There, got it in the middle. Now I'm going to take some of my white gum paste, and I'm going to form the dress, the bottom part of the dress, the skirt part. This is just a plain bride and groom, but you'll have the same techniques and ways to make any bride and groom that you like. From then on, it's just tailoring of the different kinds of clothes. So I'm working in my gum paste. You always work it in a little bit after it's been sitting because it goes a bit rigid. And as you can see, I'm folding my folds to the bottom and I'm leaving it clear at the top. And then I'll squeeze that together and then I'll roll it. That way I don't get any of those cracks that you get up the side, and all my folds are sitting at the bottom and it's nice and clear at the top. So I'm going to roll it, and you want to make it quite slender because at the end of the day you want your figurine to be more slender instead of big and bulgy. We all make the same mistakes in the beginning though. I had sent back, when in my previous job, they sent back so many of my figurines because it was just too bulky. So I learned, make it thinner. Plus, if you're going to add material on afterwards to the body, you got to count that in. So you've got to sort of work in a way that you're still going to put on clothes. So that's going to add the weight. Okay, now I'm just making a long cylinder because I'm going to put the dress over there, the skirt part, and I'm going to insert it into the wire through the top and out. Okay, now one of the tricks of the trade, I'm going to lift up the wire and I'm going to burn it. I'm going to burn it for a while. Please be careful with the flame and working with the wire, it gets quite hot. And I slide down. You can hear it smells like toasted marshmallows. Now just be sure that you hold it there for a while. Now it's bonded in the hips. So as you're working, it doesn't crumple up the bottom of your figurine. All the weight is going to sit in the hips. Okay, great. So I've got that ready so long. Now I'm going to take the rest of the icing and we're going to roll that out for a skirt. And back and forth, and this gum recipe you can actually roll out so thin you can see it through and onto the mat. Okay, so we finished rolling it out. Now I can cut a circle. This is going to be my dress. It's going to drape over my body over there, over where the legs should be. Pick that up to the side, and I'm just going to rub the edges down a little bit so that it's neat and tidy. You want to always be careful of your edges and the finer details. I'm going to cut this over here, nice and straight. There we go. Now I can pick that up, and I can let's put some glue on first. You can make your own glue with CMC and water, but I've got some convenient PME petal glue over here to work with. So I'm going to put some glue on the top just to hold it in place, and I'm going to drape this over the middle. Now I've got it over there, and I've got to decide to myself which side I want at the front. And as I'm working around and around, you can put more drapes in. So you're going to just keep on adding more drapes in between. And you can do it to the side, you can do it to the front. You can play around with this part. This is just draping. Draping is lots of fun. Yeah, I've got it going to the side a little bit. That can be at the back. Okay, great. So I've got a little bit of tearing at the front, but I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to do some little bit of lace work from her bodice onto the dress. There we go, and I've got her dress draping towards the back and to the side. There we go. Now I want to colour some of my flesh colour, which I'm going to use the gel colours, the terracotta and the ivory. Okay, so I've mixed in my flesh colour. Please excuse my hands, you can see I've been colouring black. You all know how that feels afterwards when you go to a restaurant and the waiter looks at your hands and your hands are like pink or black. So I've mixed in some flesh colour, folded all my folds to the bottom like I said with the other one, and I've got a bit of a log shape. Okay, so I've got a log shape and it's clean at the top, and I'm going to put it down on my mat and I'm going to flatten it. Great, that's to start off with. Now I'm going to take some of my petal base or vegetable fat and I'm going to start pinching out where the neck is going to go. And you want to be very careful not to get a triangular neck. You want it to be right angles on both sides. So I keep on pinching it, and I can even roll it, and that's where my neck's going to go. Doesn't matter how far out you roll it, you can always shorten that later. Now I'll put it back down on my mat and I'll press downwards because I want the bust to go downwards. and you'll see over there it's a downward slant from the top. Now I'm going to take my Dresden tool, the sharp side, and I'm going to go in between, and then I'll take my broader flatter side and I'll shape the top. There we go. I can press there again until I'm happy. Now I want to make her bust not too big, so if you go further upwards the bust is going to be smaller, if you go further downwards the bust is going to be bigger. So I'm going to, with the length of my tool, I'm going to press down over there just a little bit, and I'm going to take my icing, and over here I'm going to start rolling around, all the way around. And I make her torso quite small. I over exaggerate it. Okay, now on the sides of the bust I can also flatten out. And on the top I can round it. So side of the bust, flatten out and round it. If you've got it looking too blockish. And you keep on adjusting it until it's the same on both sides. Okay, so keep on until you're happy with the way it looks. I'm happy there now. And if you want, you can actually take a bowling tool and you can go down the center of the back a little bit, just to accentuate that she's got shoulder blades at the back. Now I'm going to cut off at the bottom over here. If you've got some cracks or folds over here, it doesn't matter too much now because you're going to cover it with material. But if you're doing like a mermaid, then you eventually roll it around just perfectly so that you can't see any of those folds or cracks. Now I'm going to chop off where I would think it's just before going into the hips. If you do it too much, then once you put it on top of your figurine, you're going to get a big bump and then the hips. So I want to chop it off before it goes into the hips. There we go. Now I can put it on top of my figure. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide this over my wire and through my neck and put this on. I'm going to press down. Now you can see it goes straight into the hips. It doesn't have a big bump and then into the hips. So there we go. As I said, we're going to do some lace work on her dress. Okay, there we go. Ideally, you don't want to get some cracks and stuff there if you're going to just have the plain dress. But today we're doing lace work because it's fun. So from now, I'm going to take some of my white paste and I'm going to roll that out. And it's going to be cut similar to a boob tube. I'm going to do this upside down for you so you can see. I'll go along and then I'll go up a little bit and then I'll go back, down, and over here I'll go straight across. Yeah, you've got that shape. Now what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of glue on my figurine at the front and the back. I'll pick this up and I'll place it in place. Now the tricky part here is just trying not to get any bubbles as you go around. So you've got to stretch and pull. So you've got to stretch and pull. Now I'm going to cut down the middle at the back, and then I'm going to do it on the other side. Cut down the middle so that they join. And you can just rub those together so that they join nicely. Okay, so what you do then is you cut all the way around just below where her flesh would be, just to neaten it off. All the way around. There we go. And you can press it on the sides if you like. There we go. We got that done. Okay, great. Here's the fun part. I want to do some lacy work on her dress. So I'm going to roll out. And this is one of the very rare times that I'll use a cutter. I don't use cutters or molds really, but this has got little flowers on it, so I'm going to use those. With the wholesome, to get them out of the cutter, I usually just use my finger. See, they come out like that. Great, and I'm going to put some glue on her torso, and I usually do it in a bit of a diagonal, and I will take my teeny tiny balling tool and I'm going to put these on one by one. See, I've got them going down all the way. You just keep on adding them. My whole fingers are full of these little flowers. You just keep on adding them. Do my last two, I think. You got to be on your toes with cake decorating. You got to be able to cover those little cracks or fill in a hole over here or there. You've got to be, how do you say, flexible. There we go. I've got all the flowers over there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little teeny tiny balling tool and I'm going to press in the center of the flowers. And if you want to take it even further, you can press in with a little one in each petal as well. That just makes it more detailed. Great, there we go. Now I want to be a little bit fancy, and I do tell the people beforehand, you know, that I'm going to do this, or I do tell them afterwards that I have done this. And you get these cheap bracelets from the China shop, and what I like to do is I'll actually remove these little stones. Some people like to use the sticky ones that you get in sheets. These ones sparkle a little bit more for me, I like them. And I'm going to put 3. Remember, we work in the rules of thirds. There's always 1, 3, 5, 7. So I'm going to choose 3, and I'm going to put them in there. Sneaky little buggers now. Just to add a little bit of pretty. There we go. Now I'm going to do the arms. So I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to put my white away. I've got some petal base on my hands, and I'm folding it, folding it, folding it until I've got a good clean spot, and I'm going to roll it out once again, and you want to roll quite thin. Because you want it to have thin arms. She's got a thin torso, so thin arms and hands, and I'm rolling a ball at the end. A small ball, because if you roll too big a ball, you're going to end up with big hands. I'm going to put that flat, and you want this to go quite smooth across. You don't want knobbles and stuff. That's why I've been rolling with my palm of my hands and not my fingers. So I flatten that out, and then I cut a triangle out, leaving my thumb, and then I'll cut my other fingers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll each finger and pat it at the end, so they look neat and tidy. This is quite difficult and hard to do. You can also just put your fingers together if you like, but it's nice to roll them out separately. And you reinforce the wrist. Okay, now I'm going to decide over there I want her elbow, and I roll in on the inside of her arm, and I leave the pointy side for the outside of her arm pushed together. And at the top I want to pinch it off and push it so that there's a bit of a shoulder over there. And I'm going to bring her back. Okay, so I'm going to use a bit of water. I'm just going to take it on my finger and I'm going to put it over there, and I'm going to stick it onto her body and onto her arm a bit. And then what I do is I take my Dresden tool and I collect droplets of water and I start smoothing from her arm into the rest of the body. Stick that over there. I want it to stay. And you just smooth it over and it goes into the rest of the body. You just smooth it over and it goes into the rest of the body. Okay. So I'm happy with that. You can cut into there just to accentuate the elbow. Now I'm going to do the other side. Now what you can do is you can take a boning tool and there in the middle of the hand you can just bone towards yourself, and then those fingers flip over nicely. And I'm going to just measure the length of her arm from that one, and then do inward for the elbow, measure the length of the top of her arm, go into the shoulder, that one I'm just going to put against her body. Once again, I'm going to smooth it in. If there's too much water, you just wipe it away. And I'm just smoothing it in all the way around. Great. And if I want her arm to stick against the body a little bit more up, some glue in there, and presto. That is how we do it. Done. Next part is going to be the head. Okay, here we go. I've got my palettes, and yeah, as you can see, I go through a lot of the Royal Chem Arctic white because I find it's just the best white that you can get to paint with. All the colors are actually really great to paint with, which is why I leave them on my palette. They're dry and then you can just use them the way you would a watercolor. So I'm filling in the eyes with white Ceylon. You can see how nicely the white works and it doesn't leave cracks. And while that's drying, I can do her lips. What I like to do is, I like to do a little bit of whites going down over there on the lips. Just give it a little bit of Fuma. Like it's a shine. Now she's gonna have brown eyes. So let's do her eyebrows so long. Nice thing about using a palette like this, you can just keep it and continually use it. It doesn't go off. So it's just like your paint. I'll do this eyebrow first because it's difficult to match them up. So I find if I do this one first, it's just easier that way. Okay, so they're a bit different. So let's give her a bit of a smile to go with her eyebrows. And we go in with the burning tool over there. She's got a bit of a smirk. Haha, I got you. We're getting married. Okay, so my eyes are dry and back with the brown. Now I want to leave two little white spots. So I'm going on this side, that side, and I'm going to leave a circle of white and then another circle of white. And the same on the other side. On that side first, and that side, and a circle. And you want to try and get the circles in the same place on both sides, because it's like the reflection of light on a marble. It'll appear on the same sides in exactly the same way if they're sitting next to each other. Okay, so I've got my brown in. Now I want to do the black. Okay. Great. Now I want to do some eyelashes. Well, here's just a handy tip. If you've got a very small brush and you want it to be even finer, what you do is you take the bristles and you cut some off against your mat so that they're nice and thin. So for instance, I'm going to do that with my brush. Now I can do the eyelashes. There we go. That makes it a whole lot easier. Now if you want, you can do some dusting on the cheek. I'm busy using baby pink welcome. But there's so many different ones. I mean, it's hard to pick. But there we go on that side. Just a slight bit of rosy cheeks. And there we go on that side. Great, so the painting of the face is done. You can see I've done it down on my mat instead of up against my figurine, because you know, once you're working on your figurine, it's a bit difficult to keep your hands straight and paint easily. Now I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to burn it. And I'm going to slide on my head. And you can still adjust the chin and the cheeks if you like. Some more. Okay, great. Now we're going to do some hair. Okay, now she's got quite dark brown hair, so I'm going to take a little bit of black and I'm going to mix it in with my brown just to get a bit darker. Now I've got my dark brown, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it piece for piece, and I'm going to take a piece like this, and I'm going to take my Dresden tool and let's take it from that side, and I'm going to pull lines in. There's all different ways of doing hair. You can do it strand for strand if you like. I just find this a bit easier. Now we can focus on her, and I can put some water or glue on the top, and I can start putting her hair together bit for bit. There we go.